Hi, I have a question for you today that most people have trouble answering. Who are you? Now, the difficulty in answering this question comes from how do you try to simplify you and all your experiences and everything that could describe you into a sentence or two? Pretty impossible, right? Because you know that you're really complex, but how do we get a sense for ourselves? How do we express that to other people? So this quote that sounds a little bit more like a riddle might help us get started, and it's kind of what's called the looking glass self. Here's the quote from Charles Horton Cooley. I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. So I'm going to say that last part again because I know it can be a little hard to follow. I am what I think you think I am. So Cooley was a sociologist, and through his theories, he developed a notion that we come to understand the sense of who we are from our interactions with other people in the society. So you imagine how you appear to another person. You imagine the judgments that that other person might be having of you, and then in response, you feel some sort of emotion, pride, or happiness, or guilt, or shame. So a psychologist named William James expanded on that idea to include that we can also reflect on our own behavior. We have the capacity to integrate other people's views of us in order to build and change our self-image. So our view of who we are is influenced all the time by interactions throughout our lives involving how we see ourselves and how we think other people see us. So why am I talking about all of these theories and sociologists and psychologists? Because once you know this information, you can see how it affects you in your everyday life, like 20 times a day. So for instance, if your boss calls you in to talk about some work that you've done, they have a little bit of feedback. They might point out some areas that you need to work harder on or fix, and in your boss's mind, they might be giving you one-on-one attention. They might be taking their time to help guide you to be successful, but if you hear that your boss wants to talk to you and you immediately assume they're disappointed in your work, that they're annoyed, that you think that they're annoyed that they have to go over things with you, then you're likely to leave that interaction feeling really defeated, maybe even embarrassed or ashamed. So if we look at that Cooley quote again, you can say, I'm not what you think I am. Because if that were the case, our boss thinks they're being helpful. They might think we're a really strong, competent employee. But that's not the reality. That's not what we think. So I am what I think you think I am. So I know it can be a little bit hard to follow, but your perception is your truth. And it's going to determine how you feel and act. But because it's your perception, there's room for error. There's room for mistakes. So in that example, you might avoid your boss for a few days because you're ashamed, because you feel like you didn't live up to their expectations. But the thing is, the boss might think that you didn't appreciate their feedback. They were giving you one-on-one time, so maybe they're less likely to do that in the future. Boom. We've just made our lives more difficult. We're not having our boss on our side anymore because our boss now thinks we're not open to help. So this situation that could have transpired and played out totally differently is now going kind of down a negative route because of what we thought somebody else thought of us. So how do you stop getting in your own way? You start by challenging those negative thoughts. You assume people are generally positive or neutral towards you until proven otherwise. So in that instance, if we assumed our boss was helpful, we would show appreciation. We would thank them for their time, and they would probably be more likely to do it and help us out again in the future. So when we assume the best of others, we pull for their best qualities. And when we're a person who surrounds ourselves with really positive, authentic people, we're going to be more happy and more successful. So if we come back to the original question, who are you? It's a tough one to answer, but you are who you think other people think you are. So assume positively. Think that you're doing positively, and you will.